Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Assemble. My name is Hyrule, and today we're talking about the updated content roadmap that Crystal Dynamics just released for Moments Avengers. So the way this breaks down, guys, you'll see behind me is that September has its own column, and then there are 3 columns after that for fall/winter. So what we're going to do is I'll go through everything that I know about based on the meeting that we had with the developers, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts at the end and try to sum it up and give you guys what I think about where the direction of the game is going and what I think about everything that they talked about with this roadmap. Okay, so let's go down with September. So September is basically what they've already showed us so far. It is going to be Priority Mission Rush, Cargo Runner Synthoid, and then Flashback Rewards Cash, right? So for anyone who's expecting anything September, it seems like basically what we get out of September is as advertised thus far. So let's go into the first column of the fall/winter area. Now, this one has returning events: Corrupted Vibranium, Red Room Takeover, Tachyon Anomaly, and the Cosmic Threat, with bonus XP weekends. So that first column looks to have just basically a bunch of events and some XP weekends. Now, let's go into the second column, which has the Raid, Spider-Man, new enemy type, and power level cap increase. Alright, so let's talk about the Raid first. So they did say that this is a raid which makes it different from an OLT. Now, the way they made it sound is this going to be a lot more involved, though if I remember correctly, there was no kind of talk about raising the cap with how many players you can play with. So to my understanding and to set the expectations, I would say just be prepared that it's going to be 4 players, much like an OLT is right now. But they did also say that if there are any questions that came after the Wakanda expansion, that these questions will be answered as part of the raid, though it is not a reworked final mission of the campaign. It's an entirely new experience to expect out of this, so which is kind of cool, and I do like that. Alongside that, there are going to be 2 modes for the raid. There'll be a normal mode and a hard mode. So for anyone who wants to play just on a normal mode, which will be difficult, don't get me wrong, it will be difficult, that you can still do that. But for anyone who wants the extra challenge, can then go to the hard mode and get that extra hard challenge that they're looking for. Now, let's look at the Spider-Man event. So Spider-Man is confirmed to be a permanent exclusive on PlayStation, him and everything coming alongside him as part of the package. It is not timed, it is a permanent exclusive. Now, for anyone asking, what about the other platforms? Well, they did confirm that there are no surprise heroes coming alongside Spider-Man, so for anyone holding out hope for She-Hulk, Bucky, anyone else, they did confirm that it's just going to be Spider-Man, though they did say but not go into details about other content dropping around Spider-Man in order to make sure that those platforms aren't dry, is what they said. So no details. I would imagine it could be like a villain sector or something, like something to give players to do, but not something that players are going to be able to take control of, right? So no heroes, but maybe a mission with a new boss or something like that. Though, without details, it's hard to know. All right, so let's talk about the new enemy types. Truthfully, I don't remember them talking too much about echoes, though there are going to be new enemy types alongside the raid. But in terms of what echoes mean, I don't know. And if another creator has remembered what they are, I would say use them as the authority on this one. In terms of like what I remember, I don't think they really touched on what to expect out of echoes. Now let's talk about the power level cap increase. So the power level cap increase is going from 150 to 175. That will be a part of the raid update. So as part of the raid update, you'll have a new power level cap increase. It means you have to go chase some new gear, and that will be a part of that one update together. All right, so let's talk about the resources part here of the roadmap. So as part of the meeting, they went into detail a little bit about what they have plans for when it comes to resources and their economy. So the idea that they want to do is to streamline the economy into 3 resources right now, those being upgrade modules, fragments, and polychromon. They want to make sure that players understand what they're going for, what the resources do, and to make it a little simpler, though they did say that these resources that are going away will come back in a future date. Now, they also touched on that a lot of players right now may be at the cap of these currencies, right? So when they convert all these currencies over at part of this update, they also want to make sure that they're evenly giving you guys value for what you've already accumulated, right? So the idea is that they don't want to rip anybody off or make anyone feel gypped, and that they give you guys an equivalent value for the stuff that you've already earned and gained through gameplay already. And that's all we have for the resource part of the rework. When they talk about gear upgrading, there wasn't really a lot there that was said, other than there are looking at upgrading gear in that time frame as well. So you'll be able to upgrade gear that you use now and move it forward with you. But they did say exotics, legendaries, and epics, but they never really went into detail about how it's going to work or what pieces are going to work. There was really no kind of like deep dive into that, other than there will be gear upgrading and to expect that alongside some of the rework systems with resources. All right, so let's talk about the Hawkeye nameplate challenge. So there was no real details on this given either, though I would imagine it's going to take place with Kate and Clint, and you'll have to do some missions, kill some enemies with them, and then basically you'll be given the nameplate. Though they did talk about future opportunities with the MCU, obviously stuff they would like to do, I would imagine, because it drives engagement with the game. So, I mean, you'll probably see more of this stuff. Though they never really mentioned any sort of MCU outfits alongside the release of the show, though I would imagine that's something they want to do, because I think most people know that the MCU suits are probably doing pretty well for them. So they'll definitely try and capitalize that when the show comes out. Now let's talk about Earnable Cosmetics and the cosmetic rework. So Phil was on the June stream and he mentioned that the cosmetic rework would be in two parts, right? Stuff that they could release this year and then stuff that they would release next year. So when you look at Earnable Cosmetics, there wasn't really a lot given to us about what to expect out of it, though they did say that they were looking at bringing patterns back. Now, in what way, how, I don't know. They never said, though they did say they are looking at bringing patterns back in order to reward players for their efforts in grinding these rewards. All right, guys, so that is everything covered on the latest roadmap for Marvel's Avengers, but there's a few things that we got to talk about. And first and foremost, once again, if you look at this roadmap and you're excited for all this stuff, please don't let my commentary affect your excitement in any sort of way. If you look at this and you're excited, by all means, feel excited, enjoy, have fun. But now let's talk about my feelings towards the roadmap. Now, let's talk about Spider-Man, because that's going to be the big one that a lot of people are going to ask about, right? So when they talked about Spider-Man, once again, they said they cannot talk about the details of the specifics that are coming alongside Spider-Man for the other platforms, right? A lot of the questions about Spider-Man hasn't really necessarily been about Spider-Man. It's always been about, what are you guys going to help do to make sure the other platforms don't feel gypped that they are not playing on PlayStation? And for them to be like, okay, well, there's something coming, but we just can't talk about it. It's like, really? Like, I mean, like, you know, come on, guys. Like, really? Like, you got to give people something here. Like, you got to give them a little bit of hope here, right? Because right now, you're looking at, on the Xbox and PC side, you're looking at your last hero in August, and you're looking at what? Your next hero in January, February even? Like, you got to give these people something to kind of give them hope to continue playing this game. Because right now, and we can talk about the greater issue with this roadmap, is there's just not a lot on it. There's not a lot of new stuff on it. You have your newest thing, which is the raid, and that's it. One new piece of content. No cloning labs, no patrol mode, which a lot of people expected. To me, this feels like the biggest failure with the game, and I'm specifically talking about cloning labs here with this one. To talk about cloning labs and go all the way back to pre-launch even, and now we're getting into the back half of the year, September, October, November, December, and we're not even going to get the mission. At this point, it's only a few different realities that we live in. Either they're scrapping it and they don't want to tell us, or they've reworked it somehow and they're still not done. For Phil to say that they have to put all hands on deck to get the raid, I understood that that can push patrol mode out of the way, because patrol mode, once again, in my kind of reasoning behind why they delayed it, it needed a lot of work to be done. So for them to be like, okay, we can't do patrol mode because we got to do this big giant raid, this big thing that people are going to love. Cool. But if Cloning Labs has already been done, been completed, was theoretically, granted maybe the network issues prevented its release, but in a perfect world ready to go in last October, why are we now hitting October next month and we have no Cloning Labs? That to me is crazy. We're going from our first OLT, which was July 27th, and now theoretically our next endgame piece of content is going to be when? November? Come on. Like, to me, it just feels like the biggest failure of live service is that players want hard content to be able to take their best gear into. Now, for all things Family Reunion does, it actually does sort of challenge the players a little bit, though you can obviously grant that it is a little bit of bullshit in that Super Adaptoid fight, but it kind of challenges players to think about their builds a little bit, right? But for now, not to carry that momentum through all the way, it just feels like, what is going on with that endgame part of the game? Now, maybe the raid comes out and the raid is so good that we forget all about Cloning Labs and we forget all about this stuff. But to me, to not have this mission in the game a year since we should have had it at this point, to me feels like the biggest failure. I'm someone who looks at this game for endgame content. I'm someone who looks at this game for the end of the game's treadmill. So once again, there's no new villain sectors that we know of, right? Maybe one drops alongside Spider-Man, but we don't know. There's no Crossbones villain sector for people who want that. There's no OLT, and there's only the raid. what is keeping people with this game for the next 4 months? Is it just Spider-Man? Is it just the raid? You're having people right now. And listen, if you enjoy the Priority Rush and the Cargo Runner Synthoid and you enjoy that part of the game, by all means, continue on. If you look at those events and those coming on different weekends or different weeks, more than likely with the bonus XP weekends coming on the weekend, you look at that and you like that, by all means. But for me, I see nothing added to the game. And once again, I'm not oblivious to the fact that we just had War for Wakanda. I'm not oblivious to the fact. But once again, War for Wakanda didn't do anything for the endgame players. It just simply was there as a campaign, basically. So when you look at a lot of this stuff and you're an endgame player, a lot of the time you look at it and you're like, okay, what am I doing with this game right now? You know, why am I logging in? And to me, I look at September and I look at possibly October as like, I could probably put the game down until the raid comes out and maybe nothing's going to change from now until then. That to me sucks. Now, once again, live service games should be pulling you in all the time. Whether they do events or new additions, there should be something that's pulling you in and keeping you with the game. To me right now, it feels like a lot of people are going to see this roadmap and they're going to be like, why am I playing this game until the next stuff comes out? And, you know, and maybe that's the solution. Maybe you don't play the game until the raid comes out and Spider-Man comes out. And maybe you just do that, right? For me, I really got to take a good hard look at this and say, do I want to play the same stuff I've been playing since July at this point up until whenever the raid comes out, whether that's November or wherever? To me, I'm probably going to lean towards no. And I just wonder, like, what's the thought process? I was thinking, like, maybe this is all they could muster. You know, like, maybe, once again, they can't do Cloning Labs because they're doing something to it and they can't release it in the state that it's in, and all hands were on deck for the raid, and, you know, maybe this is all they can muster. If that's true, I just don't know what to think about that, to be honest with you. And I feel very disappointed looking at this roadmap in terms of the amount of content that's being added, and it feels like there's just not a lot there for a lot of players. Now, once again, if you like the events, by all means, the events are there. You can get a bunch of exotics. It's really good. But to not have just a simple new event as well, it's the same stuff we've been using throughout the year. I just wish maybe there was a brand new one in there to kind of spice things up a little bit. You know what I mean? To me, I just feel very disappointed looking at this roadmap. You know, it just feels like it's a lot of recycled, and it's a lot of like, maybe, you know, for our next piece of content is going to be January. You know, our next multi-platform heroes could be January. It just leaves a lot to be desired about like, where is the direction of this game's going and what to expect out of 2022. Now, at time of recording, I don't know what's in the State of the Game blog, and maybe the State of the Game blog does shine a little bit more light on exactly where the game's going in that first half of 2022. But looking at the back half of 2021 right now, one new piece of content and one new hero for a specific platform. Though, once again, we don't know what they're delivering alongside Spider-Man to make up for the fact that he's only on one platform. I have to wonder where things are going and where things are coming with this game. And because of that, I feel very disjointed about my feelings towards Marvel's Avengers right now. I don't know. Honestly, guys, I really don't know what to make of this. But please let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this, because I think a lot of it will depend on like what you guys think. Are you guys okay with this? Are you guys kind of disappointed? Are you guys excited? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time here in Assemble. My name's been High Ruler. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.